what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I am fairly quickly realizing that Spellbreak is incredibly challenging to make content for. I mean, it's a hard game, and I'm not a pro player at it, which sucks, because normally I'm pretty good at games, like instantaneously, but Spellbreak is just a beast. Even though it seems so familiar, it seems like I should just be able to jump in, but goodness, the skill ceiling is just crazy. And we actually just did a video talking about that, and that's why I'm loving the game. There's so much to learn. Awesome. But it's a little hard to, obviously, do guide videos, tips, tricks. Maybe that's going to come. Other people are doing it. That's fine. But me, as a critic, what I can do is I can tell you, I don't know, what I've been doing to have a lot of fun, what I think makes this game tick, and almost in a way sort of explain, the universe, what's going down, and what part of this, formula that makes up Spellbreak, what is the secret sauce, and basically today's video, what is the class that makes it the most fun. So we're going to go analyze the different classes, what they do kind of special, uniquely within Spellbreak and other games, compare, contrast, and really we're going to kind of basically list video this and which one is ever. Number one is the one that, in my opinion, is really the one that is most exemplary of what makes Spellbreak, and the one that is just basically, it's the most fun. It's the most fun class that lets you do the most cool shit, basically. You probably like most expressive, high skill ceiling, and it allows you to do the most cool stuff, just make big plays. That's really what I'm going for. That's pretty much what makes Spellbreak. So let's go ahead and dive into these different classes, which, if you didn't know, is actually determined by your starting gauntlet. So you are going to be stuck with this gauntlet, and then you also get some bonuses as you level up. And you level up in this game basically by running through the different circles, the safety circles, the different phases of the game. You level up and then you get extra passives. So we're not going to be talking about traits or combinations of gauntlets. We're just talking about, in general, the class, what that offers, and how that changes the entire game, and which one is really the coolest, in my opinion. So yeah, basically I'm going to go down a list that's totally unorganized except for the number one, which is just the shining example, which I'll probably rant about the most. But actually, coming in second is the one I'll talk about this one first, and that's going to be the Frostborn class. They start out with the Frost Gauntlet, and this gauntlet was the first montage that they actually ever put up of Spellbreak. I was even part of the contest. So really cool stuff here. Basically, it's a sniper weapon. You shoot a freaking icicle, you charge it up, you frostbow, and you snipe people. That's neat, especially in a battle royale, especially in a game like this where it's very, very difficult. Maybe the most challenging sniping potentially in any game ever. And I mean, I play with like railguns and stuff like that in Quake. I've played Tribes Ascend with a Sentinel class. Sniping, it can be pretty difficult and fun inside a battlefield or PlanetSide with large maps. But all the combination of everything this game has to offer, sniping is extremely hard and satisfying inside of this game. But we're not done yet. There's an extra feature. Let's talk about the passives here as well that go with that sniper shot. So whenever level 1, you get this pretty much immediately, guys. This is so cool, especially in squads. This really kind of shines inside of squads, I think. But basically, when you shoot your ice lance, or when you shoot your sniper shot, it actually, when it travels near the ground, it creates an ice path and basically your froze zone. So you can just kind of skate across the ice and you move really freaking fast. This also works for your teammates. So you can have some really cool physics-based interactions. You're sliding and charging sniping shots, all sorts of fun stuff. Now, level 2, you're going to get a hover. So imagine this, you ice lance, you get the acceleration, then you jump in the air, you hover midair, it's like Breath of the Wild, sniper shot. Also, whenever you do that, it does outline enemies, so maybe it's a little bit easier to spot as well. Now, level 3, you're getting a trait called Tundra. Now, this is pretty cool. Basically, you do have a magical ability, which is, funny enough, even though you're kind of a sniper class, a lot of people kind of just use it for the mobility, but you can use Tundra, or you can use your, your AoE, your sorcery. Every gauntlet does have a sorcery. So your sorcery is basically like an AoE freezing zone. So if you get really close to someone, you can freeze them, and then you can, headshot them or whatever. But this time, you get this passive so that it actually just straight up immune to damage, and you also cleanse of like poison and fire and slows, and and then it also increases the freeze duration. So that's pretty cool. It makes you really potent. So basically you can ice, accelerate, run up to somebody, freeze them, and then you can charge up a snipe shot if you want to. Now, again, every class, you also do get a combination. You can use another Gauntlet, and you can use your runes and mix and match and kind of have a really incredibly mobile playstyle with really any class in a way, but Frostborn is debatably like the fastest, at least in terms of horizontal speed. You're going freaking places, okay? And then you can run up, freeze people. Now, level 4, you just kind of have an overcharge with your sniper shot. And that's probably going to come in handy, especially, later on when the first opening hit is going to be so potent when it comes to like the final 1v1 or whatever you. But in general, I think sniping is just very, very difficult. So Frostborn is an incredibly fun. I definitely put it as my number 2 most fun class because I definitely love mobility. So mobility is really cool, even though you can be incredibly mobile with everything thanks to runes and, you have the boots and just general the way Spellbreak plays. But it's just, the extra bonus of being in a squad, making everyone run fast, freezing somebody, getting close up to them, kind of a CQC sort of thing. It's pretty neat. And then the sniping, the chance, it's kind of cool, but it is a little gimmicky overall. And I think in a lot of ways, Ice maybe isn't as combo-y. It's maybe more defensive, but it's not as combo-y with other gauntlets in some ways. Other than if you can freeze them, then I guess you can hit them with other big heavy attacks, fireball, stuff like that. That'd be pretty big, or Earth Gauntlet. But it's pretty cool. It's just when the problem is when you do use your ice attack, people can see where you are, they can see where you're going. You just become a little bit predictable, and of course you are on the ground. And as well, when you're skating on your ice, because spells interact with each other, you potentially could be electrocuted, it could be turned into steam and then exploded and stuff like that, poisoned. Like, it's just a little worrisome. But then again, you're a super speedy, fast sniper character. That's pretty fucking neat. Alright guys, so now on to the next class, which is the Conduit, and I actually have to re-record this because I kind of misspoke the first time. There's specifically a thing that has to do with runes, and I basically said Conduit didn't have any mobility, but at level 2, you actually do get an extra rune charge. Anyways, so we'll talk about that, but Conduit is the one with the lightning gauntlet, okay, and it takes a lot to actually master this. I was actually thinking that I would kind of fall into Conduit really easily because I did play heavy on flag, specifically with Doombringer, in a game called Tribes Ascend, which basically had a machine gun with leading style mechanics. This class I think really is supposed to have the power fantasy of being kind of like a machine gunner or constantly always doing stuff, but it doesn't quite actually execute like that. So I do think there needs to be a little bit of a rework here because other classes feel like they have just more uptime, or they just kind of feel like they do more damage. But in the end, anyways, you shoot lightning bolts, which is essentially, it's kind of supposed to be like an assault rifle kind of thing. But level 1 lightning bolt, plus 1 damage every bolt until you stop casting. So that's supposed to be kind of like the wind up of the machine gun. Again, something that you see like on Heavy in Team Fortress 2, though that's hit scan, but mainly, like Doombringer and Tribes Ascend. I really was hoping for that vibe, but no, I'm not at all. Anyways, level 2 though. Whenever you cast Lightning Strike, which is your sorcery, which is a ground-targeted skill, but it has actually some really good vertical space, you get 1 rune charge. Now, this is where I have to reread everything. The rune charge is going to be stuff like your Spring Step, it's going to be your Featherfall, it's going to be your Flight rune, it's going to be mostly mobility. And if it's not mobility, you get the Wolf thing, whatever. You still get +1 rune charge whenever you cast Lightning Strike, so you're constantly always basically, you generally have pretty high rune uptime. Now, it's not like you can just cast these back to back to back, there is still a cooldown with it, but in general, you can have actually some pretty fun mobility with Conduit and a little bit of flexibility depending on what your squad composition is or kind of what build you want to go with, as you play through the game. So, it's not no mobility, but in the end, because of the fantasy of just like always shooting, always machine gunning, you generally, I think, will be on the ground a little bit, kind of, except for until you hit level 3, which maybe this should be level 1, I don't know, but basically level 3 on cast, whenever you do Lightning Strike, which is again your sorcery, you have 100% mana cost reduction on spells. Yeah. So whenever you basically, the combo is Lightning Strike, hit them, and if you didn't know, Lightning Strike actually shocks people, so they can't use any skills whatsoever. They can kind of move, but they can't actually like truly escape. So if you do land Lightning Strike, which doesn't do that much damage itself initially, it basically is going to guarantee at least a wind-up chain of lightning bolts, as long as you have decent aim and, you kind of predicted it. So you landed the shot, then you can just wind up lightning bolts, 100% mana cost reduction on spells, That sounds pretty good. Now, I haven't been able to use this at all. It is a pretty high master rating class. Oh, but at level 4, your lightning strike gets 4 strikes, which comes at 0.6 intervals. I don't actually know if that chains with everything else, where you get extra rune charges and stuff. Probably not, but anyways, I just really have not been able to use this class. Maybe it's the hardest when I thought I would fall into it the easiest. But it definitely has a lot, like the way you play this class with different runes can change exactly how you play. So it's kind of exciting, but at the same time, it just doesn't have the oomph that I would want. It doesn't have the specialty that I'd want. Like other classes, you can just instantly tell, oh, that's the rocket launcher. Oh, that has this type of playstyle. Conduit is just a little bit more vague, and so maybe it just takes more time getting into it. But in the end, I don't think it really just speaks to me in terms of Spellbreak gameplay. There's just others that are just more fun to me. Next up, we have the Pyromancer class, which starts with the Fire Gauntlet. Now, this one I'm starting to really kind of get into because overall, you know, I did play Tribes Ascend. I do play basically projectile shooters in all shooters. You know, like I play Pharah and Hanzo and Overwatch, Quake. You know, everyone uses rockets. Everyone loves rockets. And in Tribes, most everything is rockets anyways. So I really do love when you're in the air and you mid-air fireball someone and then you immediately look at the ground and shoot them as they hit the ground. And I just feel like there's a lot of fun kind of just combo, just, you know, just boom, 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 fireball, fireball, fireball. It's pretty fun just in general. So basically, Fire Gauntlet is the rocket launcher. And that's neat, and it's not hard. I think this is definitely a good starter gauntlet overall. The firewalls, whatever. That's really more of a combo thing, debatably, and then also to use for your passives. So let's get into that. So level 1 on Fireball Direct Hit, you ignite people, which basically just instantly means like you do more damage, and also it's easier to do damage. And I don't know, that's neat. I really feel like it's not quite sexy enough. I think that the level 2 should be the level 1. So level 2 is flame walls allow you to take flight. So yeah, that's the Human Torch thing. You can fly, you're a phoenix, poof, you bust out of the firewall, you can fly for a little bit. It's just 2 seconds, but this is really important because it's obviously easier to use the Fire Gauntlet if you are in the air. It makes you significantly more strong. As well, flame walls can be used almost kind of like defensively, kind of throw it on yourself, or you can kind of jump on an enemy, flame wall, and then kind of fly up in the air and then shoot them from right above them. But flame walls, just in general, level 1 is just a little whatever. So at least it's level 2, okay? Level 3, flame wall just gets increased damage, which I don't know. I really don't generally like things where it's just more damage. I feel like this maybe could have been like firewall turned, like it's a giant circle instead, like it changes shape, or it spreads, or it's like a wave, or, you know, it's longer, or thicker. It's just something. I just think in general, more damage just isn't quite cool enough for me. I really like the spectacle of the game play as well. Maybe also if the firewall changed shape, you could use it offensively, but then if it was more of a cross, then some of it would be more close to you, and then it would be easier for you to use it offensively while at the same time using it for the Firefly level 2 ability where you can actually fly in the air. Anyways, level 4 is Conflagration, and I've not really seen this do much cool shit, but basically, if you land with your fireball, then the fireball splits into more fireballs, and they kind of explode a little bit, but they do very, very little damage, in my opinion, and they kind of like don't really hit exactly. So I almost wish level 4 was more of like, okay, you can shoot your fireball, and then when, I don't know, just like it just explodes in proximity to an enemy. So like if it's in the air or whatever, you can actually use it for anti-air possibly, because that's, you know, whenever it gets late game, people are just going to be airborne constantly, and fire, it's going to be kind of difficult to use just a little bit. So I don't know, Conflagration is just a little, I don't know, it's a little weird. It's cool. It's a cool concept, possibly, maybe in squads, but I mean, not even then. People don't just bunch up together. It's just, it doesn't really add much damage at all, exactly. So the Firefly, pretty cool. You can fly around. You know, Pyromancer's pretty neat, but just in general, just being able to use a rocket launcher in this game, it's kind of neat. You know, it's a rocket launcher. And the being able to fly a little bit is kind of cool too, but in the end, Pyromancer, I think, just needs a little bit little bit of love, possibly. I mean, not in terms of balance, probably, because I think a lot of people use it. Also, considering you can mix and match gauntlets, guys. Remember that. You know, like fire and wind and stuff. Fire and wind gauntlet is crazy. But just because it's a rocket launcher and, you know, all the cool additive stuff, just because you use Pyromancer doesn't mean you can't use the fire gauntlet with other weapons. So yeah. Next, we have the Toxicologist. Toxicologist was my main for the longest time, and I thought going into this launch, I would be using Toxicologist, but, you know, in the end, I don't know. I'm feeling a little weird about it, but that's just based on kind of balancing issues. Actually, this is a pretty cool gauntlet. It's just the nature of the game being so airborne and mobile, it's a little difficult to use this gauntlet unless you're right in people's faces a little bit, but that's kind of cool too. It's just this doesn't quite give you the tools to get into people's faces, so I'd rather use the poison gauntlet with ice. Ice and poison, I'm actually totally fine with. I actually kind of really like ice and poison. I think that works just for perfectly fine, but Toxicologist main, it's a little weird. It's a little weird, but it is the stealth gauntlet. Then again, you can have stealth with other gauntlets, just this is the one that has it built in. So level 1, we get Toxic Spray. Basically, when you use your poison gauntlet, you actually kind of spew. It's not like a shotgun or it's a spread. It's kind of a spread shot of poison stickiness, and it leaves puddles on the ground. So this is going to leave sticky puddles on the ground. So if somebody steps on it, they're obviously going to be poisoned and stuff, but they also kind of get a little bit stuck. Which is really good. It's a CC, yeah, which is great because we don't exactly have a lot of mobility with this gauntlet specifically. Again, we're not going to be flying through the air and we're not going to be, you know, running across the ground. But level 2, we do get stealth. Basically, the smoke, your sorcery, where you actually press whatever Q or E, you can run through the smoke and you get invisibility. Now, it's only 3 seconds. But you actually do. You dash, become invisible, and it's like, you know, super ninja. So I think a lot of people really like Toxicologist. It's also maybe not the most difficult gauntlet to actually use, as long as you can get close to somebody, if you position correctly. Also, you can do a lot of like mortaring and sieging, to be honest, just to kind of area deny. Yeah, that's perfectly fine as well. Play around cooldowns and invisibility. See, here's the thing. Invisibility isn't perfect in this game. If somebody is right on top of you, or you literally like vertically, they are above you, they're going to see where you're going. They're going to see what you're doing. And I know you have the toxic cloud, so maybe you can kind of ninja it. So there might be some playability with that. And at least we get at level 2. I think it should be level 1. I think all like the core mobility style abilities should be level 1, but whatever. It's level 2. That's fine enough. But yeah, invisibility just, I don't think is as sexy in this game as maybe it could. I don't know why, but like everyone sees me all the time. Invisibility basically has never worked for me. If I use the rune or if I use this. But yeah, depending on the different runes that you have or your combination gauntlet, you could be kind of potent, I think, especially if you have fire. You can do giant big explosions. And also, here's the thing, guys. I think the toxic gauntlet itself is just fun, and it's really good to make, you know, plays, defensive plays. A lot of people will keep it in their inventory and switch to it, but just having it as your primary weapon, I know it's popular, but it just feels, I don't know. It's very feast or famine or something. Like if someone's got your number, if someone is chasing you down, if you're not, I don't know, if you're not really quick, I think you're gonna get slapped. But you know, if you're really aggressive, and especially in squad play, I think it's awesome, totally. Anyways, so level 3, you're gonna get invisible toxic spray, damage plus 75%. Neat. You definitely want to get level 3. That damage bonus is fat, that is thick. And level 4, you're able to spam clouds. That's pretty good. The Stone Shaper also has something very similar, but this is going to really allow you to area deny. You're going to be able to spam quite a lot. Obviously, though, you are going to be a little bit immobile. You are going to be on the ground a lot. And again, this game doesn't really favor that kind of playstyle. Okay, but now we have the Stone Shaper. The Stone Shaper, oh boy. Okay, so this one's a little weird. Basically, this class is meant to be on the ground. Immediately there is something that I want to say. Again, they have the mobility ability as level 2. I wish that was level 1. I also wish it was more intense, but we'll talk about that. But basically, the Stone Shaper, they're going to start with a Stone Gauntlet, and you kind of just make a fissure. It is still a ranged weapon, but you punch the ground and it creates a fissure on the ground. So most people are in the air most of the time in this game, almost always. Some people literally never touch the ground. So the Stone Gauntlet, to kind of make up for this, the fact that you have to be on the ground to use it and they also have to, it's actually really easy to hit with this. There's a really big kind of AoE. It happens very quickly. It's very difficult to dodge, other than, you know, obviously just staying in the air, which that's not the hardest thing to do. But every once in a while, you will have to touch the ground and you will get smacked, and it does do some damage. However, it has to be on the flat ground. If someone's on a rock or on a piece of a castle or something like that, you're not going to hit them. So I kind of wish there was some, you know, I kind of do wish that there was some ripple effect, like it did kind of reach up a little bit higher. But then again, okay, so level 1, you are going to get extra armor. Your max armor is plus 20. Immediately, that's it. When you cast Shockwave, with if you don't have armor, you actually gain armor whenever you do use Shockwave. So you are kind of like the tank class, just a little bit. I mean, you have to, because you have really no mobility. You'll see, level 2, you get your mobility ability. It's weird. So on cast, your Shockwave, which is your primary fire, you crash to the ground like Doomfist. Except it's not like Doomfist. It doesn't have any extra thing, and you actually don't crash to the ground that quickly. I think it should be faster. I think it should be tuned to be much quicker, and then it'll actually be a little bit sexier. And I would prefer if it had a little AoE around the player, maybe just in general, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I still think that should be level 1 possibly, but there it is. That's called Bedrock. Level 2. Level 3, you're gonna get Accretion. So your sorcery, you get to throw a giant freaking boulder, and this is a kind of a cool ability. It can actually be used defensively, because you kind of create like a wall in between you and your opponent, and when they use a sorcery on it, it actually will make the boulder explode or catch on fire or some bullshit. So it actually, I don't know, it's kind of a fun ability to use, even though you're just literally throwing a rock. But this level 3 allows it to grow in size as it flies. In my opinion, it doesn't grow that big. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a fun ability to land. It doesn't really do crazy insane amount of damages. I feel like there's better combo abilities out there. Or maybe there's area denial and stuff like that. But overall, I think it should grow much bigger in size, and it just should be bigger in size in general. Anyways, level 4, we get Avalanche, and then that's where you get an extra charge of boulder. So you can throw more boulders, which is great, which is a good way to, you know, really, two boulders is really intense. Maybe you missed the first one, maybe, I don't know, you're gonna hit a boulder. And if not, if you don't hit a boulder, you will be able to actually land your Shockwave. So yeah, anyways, the Shockwave, you should know, actually kind of disrupts movement a little bit. So debatably, you might be able to, as soon as like literally as soon as someone lands, Shockwave, and then you might be able to get a boulder off. If not, I don't know. I don't know how often people actually land midair boulders. They're just not that big enough. I kind of wish they were. But anyway, Stone Shaper is the least mobile class. And I think the Shockwave thing, especially if you were to combine it with certain runes, could be really, really, really freaking cool. But honestly, most people aren't on the ground that long. So Stone Shaper is kind of like the noob gauntlet that destroys noobs, and is kind of frustrating to veteran players a little bit, because they can get kind of cheesed, I think, sometimes. But yeah, Stone Shaper is the easiest gauntlet to use, and that's the one that I personally would recommend for the brand new players. Yeah, for sure. And now finally we have the class and the gauntlet that is the best. It's the best. It's the best. You see the coolest plays from this gauntlet, and well, at least from this class. And I think in terms of combining with all the other classes, it has the most ability. So basically using this class, it makes all the other gauntlets actually kind of come to life. So that's going to be the Tempest. Yeah, the Tempest is pretty neat because this is the class that is the most in the air. You have the most mobility overall in general, even considering, like, you know, the ice and being able to move that quickly, especially as a squad. It kind of doesn't matter, because if you're in the air longer, that means you're dodging things easier. That means you can kind of wait on cooldowns longer, and then depending on your rune, which you're gonna have it's all mobility runes basically, then you have insane mobility, vertical, horizontal, everything. you're going to be able to do whatever you want. So this is what makes it special. So the Wind Gauntlet, you actually shoot sort of like these lashes or blades of wind, and I guess it kind of almost works like a rapid fire-ish, not like kind of like an assault rifle kind of thing. So you shoot out some wind, and it's pretty easy to track, does some really decent damage, and then you also have Tornado. Okay, so here's the thing. Both those abilities, you get 2 mobility, passives with this class. And then and then there's some also insane things as we get to level 4, but let's talk about it. Every single level of this class is super sexy. Level 1, Wind Shear. Okay, so that's going to be your primary fire. When it hits the ground, or really it doesn't have to be the ground. Whenever it hits anything, it kind of creates, it's like Pharah's concussion grenade or whatever, that it bounces you back. And so you basically, because of this, it's more efficient than jumping and hovering. You can literally, if you were really good, never touch the ground except for the first time you superhero land, and then you could never touch. You could just fly the entire duration of the game. So you just basically can it's like, this is the rocket jump. You can kind of rocket jump. Not only that, but if you were against like a tower or a wall, you could just infinitely shoot the wall in order to kind of rocket jump up it. Insane. Level 1, immediately you have more mobility than anybody else. Debatably though, against the ice can still move really fast. In terms of verticality, you have the upper hand. You are the champion, and this game has a very vertical map, so keep that in mind. And just in general, very vertical gameplay. So now level 2 is going to also, your squad's Tornado's pool. Okay, that's really neat. Tornado's pooling is huge. Oh my God, that's huge. Tornado's pooling is like a DCC in the game, pretty much. And then since tornadoes are the perfect medium for combinations of poison or fire or whatever, or just even rock, you can easier land rocks or whatever you want. Tornadoes pooling just makes it easier to hit people, which is important when everyone is hypermobile. Exactly. Now, then additionally, when you enter the tornado, it launches you into the air. So with Wind Shear, you're always in the air. With Tornado, you go even higher in the air. You are always moving. You are always the most difficult character to hit in the game at all times. Always. So, anyways, and keep in mind, when you're in the air, almost every single weapon in the game is easier to use whenever you are looking down on your opponent. And then also every single weapon kind of, I think, debatably is best in combination with a Wind Gauntlet. Okay, so level 3, this is a big thing. So you're always in the air, right? Well, your spell damage goes up 20%, and you also have incoming damage reduction. The most lightest, easiest to dodge class gets damage reduction for being in the air, which you will be, and damage bonus. So normally, I don't think those kind of things are sexy. Honestly, maybe this class doesn't need it. I think this class might be overtuned, debatably. Squall maybe should be changed to something else. I'm just saying, like, this is just butter on the toast, basically. And then level 4, you get Sudden Gust. This is huge. You're in the air. Sorcery cooldown speed, plus 100%. You get extra cooldown reduction. Oh my God. Cooldown reduction should be probably on the Conduit. Conduit should be reduced mana cost and possibly, cooldown reduction. The Conduit should be the class that's like really the mage. They're like the nuclear reactor. But the Tempest, which has so much potential for huge, giant, epic, explosive attacks, while also being hypermobile, while also just really debatably being the most flexible class in the game. Oh my God, it's just absolute insanity. Anyways, even without all the overtuned numbers like crazy, just the fact that basically, this is what makes it the most fun though. Okay, so now I'm going to rant about what makes it truly fun. Spellbreak, as I've already elucidated, is all about mobility. It's all about basically maintaining your mana so that you are above your opponent. If you are on the ground, you are at a disadvantage. Even if you are Stone Shaper, because they do have the passive so that they can crash to the ground, which should be a little bit faster, but whatever, you actually want to still be jumping and in the air and generally kind of either matching someone's height or above them. Yeah, so the Tempest, because of Wind Shear, you're kind of rocket jumping, hopping all around. You know, it's just very good, and it's also just kind of peak Spellbreak. You know, the map is very vertical, the gameplay, the weapons are designed to be used in a way that's all about, okay, you want to get above your opponent? Yeah, so Tempest is the one that kind of exemplifies that the most. But also, one thing that I really appreciate about Spellbreak, which I've reiterated it every time I talked about it pretty much, is the fact that it is a game with mixed aiming. So you do have like a rocket launcher, you have grenades in a sense, you have all these different ground targeted abilities. But yeah, so Tempest allows you to literally, like, while you're aiming or tracking someone, you have your tracking aim, you actually want to look at the ground, shoot it, you know, you do your wind shear ground jump. So, you know, you're surging through the sky, you're doing these little rocket jumps everywhere. You're deciding to use your tornado, aim at the ground, or, you know, aim literally at your feet, jump into the air. So you're constantly kind of going up and down and flying and floating, and just doing all sorts of different stuff. You're doing many different types of aiming skills while just using Tempest. I don't, like, you could debatably say that a little bit with Conduit because it is a sniper class, but then again, that's just the Gauntlet in general. No, for the most part, Tempest has the most variability and flexibility with its like literally objectively with its combination of different gauntlets and magics that kind of explode together, but also just in terms of mechanics, in terms of the physical feeling of playing Tempest. You are, I think, moving your screen the most. I think you are really the most hyperactive. You are doing what Spellbreak does best more often than any other class. Just because you pick Tempest, you basically are playing, in my opinion, kind of like the real Spellbreak. Now, in squads, Frostborn's pretty cool, but for the most part, I really think Tempest is the best. And it's not even my most played or anything. I really try to make other classes work, but they're definitely just missing kind of the love that Tempest got. And it's pretty obvious why Tempest got the love it did, because that's what Spellbreak is. This is peak Spellbreak. And all the other classes are going to need some touches and some rebalancing in order to really bring it up to, maybe not the competitive level, though I do think that's also the case, but just in terms of fun factor. Tempest is the most fun class inside of Spellbreak, the Mage Battle Royale game. Anyways, that's really just my opinion, though I did look at statistics. I did actually watch pro players, and I really thought about this for a little bit. Okay, I've been playing the game for a little bit, and that's just my opinion. I do want to hear yours actually in the comments below. But anyways, hopefully you guys had fun with the video. I mean, it's really hard to do much else since I am a novice, basically, and this is a very challenging game. But one thing that I can do in circumstances like this is just say, what's fun? What am I doing that's really fun with this game? And what kind of video can I make that explains the game and also shows new players what is possible with the game, what is the potential, and what really makes this game tick? And I can do that through review. So even though I was a little harsh with some criticisms here and there, really, I'm keeping the hype alive for Spellbreak. Much love, friends and family, and I hope you did have fun. My name is Skylent, and I will see you in the next one.